Hi there, and welcome back to the HQ. Today, we are going to be reacting to the Russian Revolution, Oversimplified, Part 2. Where we last left off, things seemed to be on an upswing for Russia until a couple of things happened. One, the Tsar got freaky-deaky with a funky homeless wizard man named Rasputin. And then, of course, the big thing that happens in 1914 happened. One guy got a cat busted in him by another guy from another country who wasn't happy with him, and then one thing led to another, and boom, World War. So, naturally, I'm sure things are not going to go great for Russia. So, let's jump right in and see just how not great it turns out. Part 2.
While Nicholas had been busy playing with his new best friend, tensions in Europe had been rising. It just so happened that in 1914, one Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary went for a drive with the top down in Sarajevo. One thing
Not a
leads to
good
another,
idea.
and suddenly Russia found itself at war with half of Europe. A wave of patriotism swept through Russia. The capital was renamed to Petrograd because St. Petersburg sounded a bit too German. Even revolutionaries were getting on board. To them,
Wow.
World War I was a big stinky imperialist war, but they didn't want their big stinky imperialist
Hey,
replaced by a
Sly
foreigner.
Pie.
So pretty much everyone wanted Russia to win. I hope
Welcome
Russia
to the
loses.
HQ.
Jeez, read the room, Lenin. Lenin hoped Russia
Oh.
would lose because that would help him overthrow the Tsar. As long as he did that,
I
who cares
mean,
if Germany blows up
that'd
half the
be
country?
one way.
And blow up half the country, they did.
Oh.
An inefficient Tsarist government meant there were shortages of just about everything you need to fight a war. And if losing a teensy-weensy war with Japan
Yeah.
upset the people, losing a giant Wyatt war like this was much.
I don't see any feasible way that Russia could even stand a chance in a larger her conflict like this. If they couldn't even handle like a major industrialization Japan. Like, honestly, I don't see how they could even knowing how badly they fared in the Russo-Japanese War, I don't see how they could handle anything even standing up to Germany and the other Axis powers in World War One.
Worse. Soldiers were deserting, the economy was imploding, and in no time, Russia was starving. The
Well,
peasants were getting more peasanty, the workers were getting more workery, all the while Germany
More
was getting
workery.
more Germanery. Dimitri,
More
we need to win this
Germanery?
war. I need someone with a great military mind to step in and take control. You're right.
It's gonna be
How about
Rasputin,
General
isn't it?
Hickenlooper? How about me? You can't run the war. Who'll be in charge of the country while you're gone?
You're not a great
Obviously,
strategy.
My German wife and a homeless wizard. Duh. Nicholas declared himself commander-in-chief and went to the front lines, leaving his German wife in charge while they were fighting the Germans. It wasn't a good look. And because Alexander was so close to Rasputin, people believed that he was
great
actually
look.
calling the shots and secretly destroying Russia, and maybe even boinking her. An even worser look. At
Oh.
this point, a bunch of
Oh,
animals
that's
just
great.
couldn't take it anymore.
That's just
Rasputin
fantastic.
is destroying the country. We have to break his magic spell over the Tsar.
His
But how?
magic
He's magic.
spell.
Dude. Very cool. Hey, it's Rasputin. The sexy party is running a little late, but in the meantime, why don't you try one of these totally not poisoned cakes? Dude, why'd you say it like that? He's totally gonna know they're poisoned now. Shut up. I said they're not poisoned. Dude, he just ate so much poison. How is he still alive? It must be the magic. Go with plan B. Is he dead?
That'll do it. Oh no!
See, Boris?
Oh
I told you he
no!
was the Antichrist and you didn't believe me. Can you shut
Oh,
up for 1
no.
minute and help me roll him up? Are you sure he's dead? I don't know, but I'm supposed to be hosting a charity auction right now. Can we get this over
I don't
with?
think he's dead. Oh, the spirits are
Okay,
free.
now he's dead. The murder of Rasputin,
spirits
just
are
like his
free.
life, is shrouded in mystery and speculation. He probably didn't really die like that, but he also
Yeah.
probably didn't really heal people. He probably didn't influence the Tsar as much as people thought. He probably wasn't secretly destroying the country. But what he definitely did
he was just
even
a
in his
funky,
death, was ruin the
funky
Tsar's
homeless man.
reputation.
Yeah, this is what happens whenever someone in nobility back in the early 1900s hangs out with a guy who very likely has some serious mental disorders. Oh, thank you for the 100 biddies. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kaisar. Mwah.
Russia's autocracy looked more outdated than ever, and the Russian people were taking notice. Come on, men. Remember what we're fighting for.
Oh.
Yeah, no. were out.
Yeah, if
World
I
War
were
I
them,
left Russia
I
broke,
would
hungry, and exhausted.
I
And with
would
Nicholas
bounce
acting as
too.
commander-in-chief, he was getting even more blame. For the second time, Russia was on the
Like,
brink of revolution.
how are you going to
By
do such a
1917,
bad
Russia had been
job
fighting a war
and
it
then put
couldn't
yourself
afford
in
for
the
3
ultimate
years.
position of
They were running out of
authority
many
just to do
things,
bad
most
again?
worryingly, food. On International Women's Day, 1917, thousands of hungry women in Petrograd were so sick of being hungry that they took to the streets. And it
Valid.
turns out it's not just women who experience hunger, but men too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
the next day
All
they joined in
people
as well.
experience
Gatherings on
hunger.
the streets were forbidden, but I'm not sure how you'd arrest 250,000 people. The crowds demanded an end
Yeah,
to the war,
I don't
an
see
end to
how
food
that's
rationing,
happening.
and even an end to the Tsar's autocracy. Now, normally
I'm
the
always
troops would
happy
deal
to
with
get
this
some
kind of
cheddar.
thing, but as it turns out,
And
soldiers
some
get hungry
Gouda.
too, and they were also tired of having to kill
Some
their
sharp
fellow
cheddar.
Russians so much. So entire
And a little bit of
regiments
pepper
mutinied in the
jack.
capital, and they joined the crowd as well, trashing symbols of the Tsar and his autocratic regime. Things were escalating very quickly. Liberal politicians watching the riots in the streets had long been dissatisfied with the Tsar, since he would shut their parliament down anytime they did something he didn't like. They believed
Yeah,
the only
I
way
like-
to bring stability back
at
to
that
the
point, it's
streets
like,
was
oh.
for Nicholas II to abdicate.
Yeah,
The
like,
riots
get
continued.
rid of
The
him.
police fired on
Like,
soldiers. Soldiers fired on soldiers. The workers reestablished the Petrograd Soviet.
Jesus, like this dude goes to the home front of the war, and it's just like immediately just everything goes to shit.
Politicians began arresting the Tsar's ministers. He may have been an autocrat, but he just lost complete control of his capital city. Talk about embarrassing. Nicholas, the troops have
Yeah.
turned against us. The people have taken over the city. They've even cut my phone
maybe
line.
yeah, like
Hello?
maybe you should have just
Hello?
left
The
the
phones are down. Things
military
must be bad.
commanding
I
stuff
better go back
to
then.
the actual
Nicholas hopped on
military
the next train
command.
back to Petrograd, but he never made it to the city. His train was met by military generals and other politicians. What's going on? Nicholas, look man, we need to talk. It's not you, it's us. Aw, who am I kidding? No, it's definitely you. During the whole crisis in
It's
Petrograd,
definitely
the
him.
liberals convinced the generals that if Nicholas abdicated, the people would calm down, and the generals were on board. They didn't have time
Yeah,
to quell the
that-
chaos.
that would
because don't
certainly
forget,
do it.
They were still losing a global, all-encompassing war against the Germans. And with the military no longer on his side, Nicholas had no choice but to step down.
Yeah.
Throughout his entire reign, he had done everything he could to keep all the power for himself. And in the end, that's exactly what left him with none. But then there was a big question. Who would replace Nicholas? Well, his son Alexei was next in line. Hey buddy, Daddy couldn't handle the complex socioeconomic problems of a giant multinational, multi-ethnic empire that's engaged in total war with all of Europe. You think you could give it a shot?
I don't think he got
Alexei just wasn't ready
That
to be
is,
Tsar. Nicholas did
that's
have
a
brother,
valid
but given the state of
response.
the empire, he wasn't keen either. And so, 300 years of Romanov rule in Russia just kind of came to an
Oof.
end.
This-
The earlier 1905
goodbye.
revolution hadn't changed much, but this new revolution had left Russia without a Tsar. And still, before the year was over, there would be one more revolution.
Lenin's
left to come.
revolution.
Nicholas's
One
failure
more
as
to
commander
go.
of the armed forces was the final straw that broke the camel's back. Do you think maybe you could have done any better? Well, guess what?
I
It's
mean,
time to find out.
honestly, it just kind of depends on the resources you have at hand, really. Like if you have enough resources and you know how to use it, it's not that bad. It's like it all just depends on how you use the resources you have and not, squander it all on like pointless shit.
In Rise of Kingdoms.
Oh.
Rise of Kingdoms is an
I mean,
epic,
that'll
massive
do it.
multiplayer, free-to-play, real-time strategy game.
I mean, I've
Choose from
played
11
Spore.
historical
I know how it
civilizations,
goes.
including Rome, China, or France. You can form alliances with other
What,
players,
not
or
Russia?
conquer the crap out of them in real-time strategic battles. Oh look, it's master tactician and handsome general Alexander the Great. If you want my advice, the troop is the most important chess piece in a battle. In Rise of Kingdoms, each troop can be controlled. To win a battle, you need to
Okay.
utilize careful positioning through unique troop formations while using terrain to your advantage. I literally won the Battle of Gaugamela with fewer troops by using superior strategy. You're
Yeah.
wrong.
Oh.
Joan of Arc. That's right, noob. Listen up. I'm
The-
about to drop
a
some knowledge. The commander's
a
skill is
figure
way
in
more
history
important. Each
that
Rise of
may or may
Kingdoms
not have
commander has their
actually
own unique
existed.
skill. Look at me. I've added attack and defense buffs to my troops. Whoa. I'm also able to cure my wounded soldiers.
Oh,
Cool. And I can increase their wood gathering speed by 10%. Not as cool, but
Oh,
okay.
I mean,
In Rise of Kingdoms, the decision is yours. Now go ahead, choose your favorite real historical figure and lead your troops into real-time battle. Download Rise of Kingdoms now.
real talk to the girls in that look, they are pretty bad though. Joan of Arc and Cleopatra do look like baddies. I'm just saying.
Now for free by clicking on the link in the description below. Join me and 50 million other online players and guide your civilization from a lowly clan into a great empire.
Yeah, like, looking at them, I'm just saying, like, give me a beanie and a leather jacket the way I'm gonna be a goon.
Now where was I? Oh yeah. Hungry woman, absolute chaos, and the end
I
of
was
the
a
Tsar.
hungry woman, but
Oh,
then I
hey
ate
guys,
burger.
Says here there's been a revolution, and the reign of the
Oh,
czars has ended.
absolutely.
Oh, come on, I missed another one? Why am I even in this video?
Like,
well, it's not like you could have done
Cleo
anything.
is definitely
As long as there's a
fine
world
as
war,
hell,
you
I
can't get
tell
back to
ya.
Russia. Who wants to start a revolution? Dang it! Despite getting rid of Nick, Russia was still at war with half of Europe. The Germans, however, had an idea. They thought that if they helped Lenin get back, he would cause trouble for the new Russian government. So they put him on a train. Destination: Petrograd.
So
It
the
was a long
Germans
journey, and while
are
Lenin was cooped
what,
up in his train,
like,
things in
tried
Russia
to
were
stir
changing.
shit with
Workers were
Russia.
taking control of their factories. Soldiers were socking it to their mean old officers. Without a czar, a big old power vacuum had opened up, and someone needed to fill it. The liberals proposed they be in charge, and they set up the provisional government. The workers, however, had already begun establishing local Soviets, largely controlled by the social revolutionaries and the Mensheviks. And since neither felt like they had the power to oust the other, Russia ended up in a classic dual power conundrum. The two coexisted, with the provisional government becoming the official government and the elected Soviets issuing orders to the workers and soldiers. This power balance was delicate, and all it would take is one bold revolutionary to come along and give everyone a big-brained beatdown.
I mean, really, you could just merge the systems together into like a, you know, like a congressional senatorial system. You know, kind of like what we have here with, like, the provisional government with with their own, like, representatives from each area, and then you have, like, senators, and then you vote for a, you know, a leader. But, you know, that's not going to happen because, you know, we can't have, like, a system that works. We got to go immediately into another revolution.
Oh boy, Lenin's coming home. I can't wait for him to see all the great things we've accomplished. And I'm gonna show him my fan art. Oh look, here he comes now.
Lenin fan art.
Shut up, shut up! You all suck! The provisional government sucks, the Soviet sucks, even your fan art sucks!
Oh, don't be like that.
You have to be so mean!
Like, I will never say somebody's fan art sucks if they draw me. Like, the fact that you draw me, if you would draw me at all, is super flattering, and I love it. I don't care if it looks like... I don't care if you think you're a bad artist. I will still always appreciate anything that somebody draws for me. Or draws of me. Always.
In case you couldn't tell, Lenin wasn't a fan of everything that had been happening.
Oh,
In his April
you
thesis,
don't
he
say.
called the provisional government and the Soviets a bunch of big bourgeois bozos. And he kind of had a point. There was still a lot for the Russian people to be mad about. The provisional government hadn't got Russia out of the war, the people were still hungry, and the peasants were still hoping to get more land. Meanwhile, the Soviets hadn't done much to change
they do
things
have
either.
pretty
Even though
valid,
they weren't perfect, a lot of people did like what
you
the
know,
new government had been doing. There
valid
was
arguments.
progress. The secret police were disbanded, the death
Good.
penalty abolished.
Good.
They even planned to hold elections, meaning for the
Very
first time
good.
ever, the Russian people could choose their own government. To many, Lenin seemed like some out-of-touch weirdo. If Lenin wanted to go from whiny irrelevant zero to hunky communist hero, he'd need to shake things up a bit. So he and the Bolsheviks came up with a hot new slogan that promised to give the people what the provisional government wouldn't.
Peace, land,
Don't like
bread.
war? We'll end it. Land. You want land? We'll give it to you. Bread. Hungry? Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Lenin also called for all power to the Soviets, which meant getting rid of the provisional government and having the Soviets run the place. A communist dream. The people liked these slogans, and bit by bit, the Bolsheviks became more popular. Some Mensheviks even began switching sides. But even though the people thought Lenin's slogans rocked, as long as the provisional government didn't mess up, they'd continue to support it. So let's check in on the provisional government.
So,
Oh, provisional government.
okay, how did they screw it up then? Because it's like, if Lenin didn't, like, try to didn't sabotage them, then what the fuck screwed them up?
You've made a big mess.
What did they do?
Lasted for just 9 months, but those 9
Jesus.
months were chaos. The people wanted Russia out of World War I, but Minister of War Alexander Kerensky thought instead of doing that, why not do the exact opposite? If the people saw more Russian victories, they'd have to support the new government, and that went just about as well as you might expect.
Why?
These petty defeats worsened the Russian economy and made the hungry people hungrier. And by now,
Like,
I think you know what comes next.
if people
They
wanted out of
trashed the
war,
place. More looting,
why would
more
they
rioting,
do-
more violence? It was like the Tsar had never abdicated.
God, it's
Tens
so
of thousands
dumb.
of armed workers took to the streets during some of the worst violence Petrograd had seen yet. And in response, Kerensky called in the troops, who opened fire on the demonstrators.
Of course they
For
did.
now, Lenin and other
That's-
Bolshevik leaders
that's
wanted
just
to
what we
distance
needed.
themselves from the violence, but the crowds marched under Bolshevik slogans, and as a result, Kerensky, now the prime minister, took the opportunity to stamp down on the Bolsheviks. Their leaders were arrested. Lenin was accused of being a German agent, and he was forced to flee to Finland in disguise. This sucks.
Fleeing
Now
once
I'll never
again?
get to have my
Jesus.
revolution. Why are you wearing a dress? It's a disguise, idiot.
Could at least wear a
And it
wig.
makes me feel pretty. Kerensky had successfully dealt with the violence.
It's a shame
but he
I'm
just
too
couldn't catch
chubby for a
break.
dress.
This increasing
It
support
sucks.
for more extreme forms of socialism, along with the poor handling of the war, alarmed traditional liberals and bougie business boys.
You know,
To appease
outside
them,
of this
Kerensky decided to
lovely
promote a military
rat
legend to Supreme
persona.
Commander of the armed forces, someone who hated
But,
the
you know,
revolution.
I'm
loved
planning
the
on-
death
I'm
penalty,
planning
and
on,
was devoutly
going to the
anti-socialist.
gym.
General Kornilov. Hey man,
Oh.
thanks for the promotion. That was real swell of you. Of course, with you by my side, who would dare try to overthrow me? How about me?
Yeah, probably the fellow you
I
just
did not see
promoted.
this coming. Unfortunately for Kerensky, Kornilov
Probably.
hated the liberal and socialist reforms of the new government, particularly the dumb socialist soldiers' committees. The
Oh.
army was no place for undisciplined left-wing snowflakes. Fearing a Bolshevik takeover was imminent, Kornilov ordered his men towards Petrograd to oust the Soviet and take over. Kerensky freaked out, and he needed help. Since he knew Trotsky
then-
was finger-licking good at organizing, he and other Bolshevik leaders were released, and they, along with the Soviet, organized the defense of Petrograd. Kornilov had the power of soldiers, but the Soviet had the power of workers. And they did
Yeah.
what workers do best. Railroad workers diverted Kornilov's men away. Telegraph workers messed with his communications. They even infiltrated his forces and encouraged the demoralized men to desert. They were
Jeez.
also armed en masse, but in the end, no fighting
Well,
was necessary.
I'll certainly
because
try a
Kornilov's
dress
coup
on
just fell
sometime.
apart, and Kornilov
I just
was
haven't
sent
had
straight to
like
prison.
I just need to find a good
Everything
one that
was
that
coming up
one that looks
Kerensky.
good in.
Hey, thanks for the help, boys. Couldn't have done it without you. Now that there's no longer any threat, how about you, return all those guns I gave you?
That's not gonna happen.
No. Oh, no. In order to kill a rat, Kerensky had just given a gun to a bear. A Bolshevik bear. The whole affair was a huge propaganda
The
win.
bear
They had
seizing
defended
the means of
revolution,
production.
And their popularity skyrocketed. They found themselves elected to the Petrograd and Moscow Soviets, with Trotsky even becoming chairman in Petrograd. They were now in a very powerful position.
And
Almost
then-
powerful enough
yeah.
for Lenin to return home from Finland and finally stage his long-awaited communist revolution. The Bolsheviks began
it's
planning
time
their
for
takeover
the
of the Russian
revolution.
government. Some got cold feet and began arguing against Lenin's armed revolution in favor of a more peaceful approach, and they even wrote newspaper articles about it, which kind of gave the whole scheme away. The Bolsheviks are planning an armed revolution?
Why would they write
I
a
did not see this coming.
Why would they
Kerensky began
write
arresting
a
Bolsheviks,
newspaper
and as a result, Lenin and the boys felt they had no choice but
about
to
it?
commence the revolution right now.
Why?
Lenin was back in Petrograd, but was
Like,
still in
to
hiding. so
force
Trotsky
their
got the ball
hand?
rolling, using his position as Soviet chairman to organize the Bolshevik militias. Now, if you were to ask Soviet artists, the revolution went something like this. As much as they would
Yeah,
like you to think
I
it
don't
was a
think it happened
glorious,
that
violent,
way.
heroic takeover, the truth seems to be a little more underwhelming. The Bolsheviks just kind of walked into key buildings in the city and took control. Bolsheviks supporting sailors
That'll
even
do
got
it.
in a huge battleship, but there wasn't really any fighting. Nobody really tried to stop them. In just one
It
day,
just kinda
they took control
happened.
of the city.
Wow.
Next,
Okay.
Kerensky just managed to escape before the Bolsheviks surrendered
He
the Winter
just
Palace,
bolted.
placing the provisional government under siege inside.
He
Is
just
it safe
dipped.
to come out yet? I think so. Fear my revolutionary might. Give me that. That night, Lenin came out of hiding to play a bigger role in the revolution. With him back at the helm, they had one more job to do: storm the Winter Palace and arrest the provisional government. And here comes the final showdown. The palace was defended by a force known as the Battalion of Death, who
Oh,
immediately gave up. And just like that, Lenin had won. As far as violent,
Immediately
bloody
giving up.
revolutionary uprisings go, this wasn't really one.
it was a pretty
But Lenin was
bloodless
finally in charge
revolution
of
then.
Russia. He had spent his whole life dreaming of this moment. He set up the first council of People's Commissars, his own cabinet, with him in charge.
Of
this
course.
was it. His chance to finally make his communist utopia with equality and freedoms beyond compare.
So what
Hey,
went wrong?
Lenin, before we took power, they were planning on holding elections. Shall we go ahead with those? Of course. You can't have a communist utopia without high levels of political participation. The proletariat
Okay.
should be free to elect who it. What? The social revolutionaries won. We lost. Those don't count. Lenin claimed the elections were unfair, and the Constituent Assembly they created was counter-revolutionary. He presented the new assembly with a motion that basically said, sign here and give up your power. And when the assembly was like, no, Lenin said, see, they're disobeying me. Proof they're counter-revolutionary.
Wow.
Shut it down, boys. Moderate socialists and others weren't happy when Lenin had the assembly closed by force.
So basically, he became exactly what he was rallying against.
And when campaigners began taking to the streets, they were fired upon. For Lenin, setting up a communist utopia was looking suspiciously like setting up a dictatorship. While he was implementing many of the communist policies you'd expect, he was also refusing to work with other political parties and cracking down on opposition.
Yeah.
Hey Lenin, are you setting up a dictatorship?
Switching
I'll
out
shoot
one
you if you are.
dictatorship
Of
for
course
another.
not. What a crazy theory. Anyway, I'm pleased to announce I'm setting up a secret police force to repress and kill traitors. And by traitors, I of course mean anyone not loyal to me. Owie, 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 owie. The assassination attempt made on Lenin's life in August 1918 failed, but in response, the Bolsheviks ramped up their oppression. But while all of this chaos was erupting back home, Lenin and the boys were also distracted by another problem. They were still at war with the Germans, and they had promised to give the people
still
peace.
locked in the
Lenin
war.
made Trotsky Commissar for Foreign Affairs and sent him off to negotiate a peace deal with the Germans. The Germans offered Trotsky really harsh terms, because they were winning the war. They demanded Russia give up a butt-ton of land, something that would be devastating to the economy. Look, I know it's not great, but I think we have to accept it. Are you insane? This will ruin us. Hey Trotsky, you got a big brain. What do you think? How about no war, no peace?
Hey,
What's
Portal
that,
from
Mr.
work.
Trotsky, sir? It's simple. No war means we'll stop fighting the Germans, but no peace means we won't sign the peace treaty either. Then, when the Germans say we've just stopped fighting, they'll have to leave us alone or something. Trotsky, that's genius. I could kiss you. Do you want me to
I
kiss
don't
you?
think it works
Stop
that way,
asking me
Trotsky.
Trotsky's no war, no peace plan was a huge success.
Was it?
Wait, no,
No,
just kidding. It went exactly as you'd imagine. When the Germans saw the Russians had stopped fighting, they slammed 700,000 troops deep into Russian territory with no resistance. Now, the new peace treaty
clearly
offered by the
it didn't
Germans
work.
was way worse, with Russia losing a huge amount of territory, population, and resources. The Bolsheviks had no choice but to accept, and Russia was humiliated. With Petrograd now in an exposed position, Lenin moved the capital to Moscow, just in case. Things really weren't going well for Lenin, and many people were extremely unhappy with the Bolshevik government and its actions.
Yeah, clearly. The Bolsheviks just, lost a whole bunch of Russian territory, and they've just become another dictatorship, so obviously nobody really liked them.
Lenin, you've pissed off so many people that they've united against you. We're under attack. Relax, we always expected some counter-revolutionary pushback. I think we can handle a few angry monopoly men. But Lenin, it's not just a monopoly man. Okay, who are we up against? Well, the liberals, the social revolutionaries, national separatists in Poland, Finland, the Ukraine, independent warlords setting up chiefdoms, anarchist rebels, the Green Peasant Armies, the Cossacks, the Caucasian states, the Baltic states, the British, the French, the Americans, and the Japanese. Oh, and a legion of Czechoslovakian soldiers seem to have taken over the Trans-Siberian Railway and stolen all the imperial gold reserves. What?
Oh.
How could this get any worse? Oh, and it says here your mother-in-law is coming to stay.
Uh-oh.
No! A variety of anti-Bolshevik forces had united together to topple Lenin's government, and Russia descended into a full-blown civil war. Now, the Russian Civil War was extremely intricate and would really need its own video, but essentially, the anti-Bolshevik White movement gained control of vast, underdeveloped areas, while the Bolshevik Reds controlled the industrial heartland. Using this to their advantage, along with the surprising military genius of Trotsky and the shocking disorganization of the White Army, the fortified Red Army gradually came out on top. It was an absolutely brutal conflict, with both sides committing horrendous atrocities. To maintain order at home, the Bolsheviks began the Red Terror, and the secret police would execute tens of thousands of suspected traitors. No one was safe from the violence, not even Nicholas himself. You've probably been wondering what Nicholas has been up to this whole time.
That is a good question.
After his abdication, he and his family were placed under house arrest. At first, they were allowed to live in their usual luxury, but after Lenin took over, their conditions worsened. The Bolsheviks were just holding on to Nick until they could work out what to do with him, but the Civil War complicated things. The last thing they wanted was for Nick to be freed by the White Armies. And so, to stop this from happening, Nicholas's Bolshevik guards decided to act. It's not entirely certain whether Lenin ordered it, or if the guards were acting on their own volition. But on July 17th, 1918, with White Armies approaching, they woke Nicholas and his family in the middle of the night and brought them into the basement. There, a drunken squad of Bolsheviks murdered the entire family. Nicholas, the last Tsar, once one of the most powerful men alive, had met a brutal end.
God damn.
But after years of fighting and millions of deaths, Trotsky and his Red Army came out victorious.
Jesus,
wow,
dude.
that was a close one. Okay, back to creating a communist utopia. How are we doing on that? Well, The Civil War helped create a massive famine and about 5 million people starved to death. There's massive inflation and the ruble is worthless. Hundreds and hundreds of kilometers of railway track have been destroyed. Disease and epidemics have killed 3 million. The population of Moscow and Petrograd has collapsed. Life expectancy has plummeted. Sailors in Kronstadt are rebelling. People are freezing to death in their own apartments and life has been reduced to a constant search for food and shelter. Whoa. Well, this just means I'll have to work twice as hard, day and night, to save the country. Nothing will stop me, short of a couple sudden strokes.
Oh,
Get the doctor. One thing you have to keep in mind is that everything I've been talking about,
well,
the Civil War,
shit.
the assassination attempt, and Lenin's struggle to maintain control at home, were all happening around the same time, and it must have been extremely stressful.
God damn.
Lenin began getting headaches, insomnia, and in 1922, he suffered 2 separate strokes. As the Civil War was
Jesus.
officially declared under a strict one-party system, Lenin's health continued to decline, and his ability to lead the Communist Party went with it. Everybody
God
assumed Trotsky
damn.
would succeed him. He was a great speaker, he'd won the Civil War, and he had a dope-ass train. The last person anyone expected to take over
Dope-ass
was
train.
Stalin. Stalin wasn't a great intellectual like Lenin, or a charismatic war hero like Trotsky. He was, as one Menshevik described him, a gray blur. Someone who operated in the background. Someone who you might not even notice. But it was in the background.
It took,
that
honest to
Stalin would
God,
rise
took
to
me a
power.
minute
Here's how it
to
happened.
find him
After the
in there.
revolution, all the Bolsheviks hoped to get a cool job in the new government. What did you get? Commissar for War. Sweet.
Oh.
What'd you get? Secretary. Stalin was made general secretary for the Communist Party. It wasn't what he wanted, but Stalin quickly realized that even though it wasn't fancy, it was a powerful position. As secretary, he had the power to give people jobs within the party. So he would give jobs to all of his pals, who in turn would give him their support.
Oh, that's as excellent. You know, take a guy who you probably don't want in charge of things and give him the job of giving people jobs so he could stack the party with nothing but loyalists. Oh, that's just excellent.
The more pals he gave jobs, the more power he got. The more power he got, the more pals he got. Lenin may have been having wall-to-wall strokes, but he was still involved in the party, and he was taking notice. He wasn't a fan of Stalin abusing his position or insulting his wife to her face. Lenin knew he couldn't let Stalin take over, but by this stage, he was just too sick to fight it. Hey man, tell whoever's in charge of giving people jobs not to let that jerk Stalin become the next leader. By the way, who did I put in charge of giving people jobs? That would be Stalin, sir. Blah. Whoa. Deja vu. Lenin's last wish was
Full
to not let Stalin take over,
circle.
but by the time he died, Stalin was too powerful to remove. He had his remaining opponents arrested or killed. Trotsky was banished and fled to Europe. Eventually, he would be assassinated by Soviet spies in 1940. Our dear
God
comrade
damn.
Lenin has died. We should have a state funeral. No. Let's mummify him and put him on display so people can look at his dead body forever. That's gross. You're gross. Guards, kill him. Lenin had waited so long to take control in Russia, but he never got to see his communist utopia. His short time in charge was spent dealing with the destroyed Russian economy.
So
World
they
War I,
just straight up left him on
he was cruel and
display.
merciless, but he really did seem to believe communism would
Bruh.
make Russia a better place. Stalin, on the other hand, would take the Soviet Union down a different path. If you thought Lenin was a tyrant, well, you ain't seen nothing yet, girl. A secret police state, a rapidly militarizing superpower, led by a
Stalin.
paranoid man who deeply distrusted
Oh,
the West,
God,
would see the
Stalin.
world come to the brink of nuclear annihilation. That's right, I'm talking about.
Yep. We already watched that one.
Remember to click the link in the description below to download Rise of Kingdoms for free. Fight alongside allies, conquer other players, and use superior tactics to emerge victorious in a strategic battle royale. Again, click on the link in the description below, and I'll see you there.
Respecting ads. So that was the Russian Revolution. They had 3 times to do it. They took 3 different chances to do it, and each time it turned out a little less effective each time, a little more effective, and a little less effective at the same time. And then, of course, by the end of it, Lenin just wound up as another would-be dictator, killing his opposition, and then died in bed after multiple strokes and assassination attempts, and left Joseph Stalin in charge. And then we all know how that turned out, from the Cold War video, of course. Well, shoot. Well, let me know what you thought about that down in the comments below. What did you think about the Russian Revolution? How do you think it could have gone? Do you think how do you think it would have been if somebody else took over instead of Stalin? Let me know down in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to hit like on the video and subscribe to the channel and ding that bell so you know when I upload, and it helps me out in the algorithm. And as always, I will see you next time at the HQ. Bye-bye.